It's your deep focus today, so I'll speak to Matt first.
Okay.
When he returns, you might have nipped to the loo. We're going to wrap it about hour today. One, because there's slightly less of us, but two, because there's a train strike, which is an absolute shitstorm. Like, if I didn't get the train that I've got to rush to get after this, I would be here until 5 a.m.
I'm sure your parents can come pick you up.
Oh, no. No way. You must be joking. I'm 36 years old. Can't be having that.
You could call your mommy and ask her to come get you.
Yeah, but then she'd send my dad because she doesn't drive, and then he'd be pissed.
Yeah, but he loves you, though. He'll come do it.
That's just taking advantage. But you're right. I definitely would do that.
You're their child. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, but I'm like one of 4. So it's like, I don't even get I've not even got the kudos of being the only one. It's like that shit's spread out. You know what I mean? I get 25% of the love.
That's okay. Take what you can get sometimes.
Well, you've got to do, haven't you? Especially at my age. Good God. Oh, dear. Matt, where are you? God, this group. You pick the people and everyone disappears. Matt's bloody disappeared. Coming back with his brew and his pink T-shirt on.
Well, he left again.
And then, yeah, I don't know what happened to Dan. Legitimately do not know what happened.
Wow. Hopefully he's okay.
I said that to him. I sent him an email. I was like, dude, what, like, but it's been 3 weeks. So I was like, that's weird. You know? It's very weird.
Weird.
Anyway, we're all good. Matt, how you doing, dude? Are you there? Oh, he's in the middle of something. Good Lord. Hello.
Oh, very eclectic group.
Oh, it wasn't. And then everyone just got eclectic. Jeez. What? Good. Are we all set, Matt?
As good as it gets, brother.
Cool. We're wrapping up at past today. Just a quick reminder, because I've got to get some damn train. So I want to kind of sort this out with the group. Daryl's not here, but I know Daryl will be joining us soon. So we've had Dan disappear, quite literally disappeared with no trace. So I don't know what's happened there. I've checked on him to see if he's all right. And then Sarah got selected for this new academy training program that she didn't think she was getting on. She's written me a nice testimonial, bless her, which is really good. So, question: what do we want to do with this group? Felicia, I know you're keen on it, and Daryl's keen on it. Matt, I know you're in, but you're kind of a little busy with the traveling and stuff. So, what do we want to do? What is each of yours opinion on what to do with this? Because I'm keen to help you guys out, but I don't want to drag it if no one's keen on doing it. So, tell me your thoughts.
I'm in, so I guess if it depends on if you want to restructure it a different way. So,
well, as long as we've got 3 good people, this is not like financially. It's just something that I do because people ask me for it. It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. I think to make it valuable for people, there needs to be 3, a minimum of 3. Obviously, Matt, I want to make sure your travel is going to fit. I don't want to keep you tied to it, but at the same time, obviously, this is your seat. It's yours. So what does that look like for you? How does that kind of fit for you guys? Because I know you are really packed.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the reality is it's difficult for me to make progress in between calls. However, that being said, without these calls, there will be 0 progress. So it's much slow and steady because it's very much a side project for me.
Yeah.
I would prefer to continue with the calls. And as I get a little bit further down the road, if I get to the point where I'm a couple months further down the road and I'm still not executing, that might be different. But, this at least keeps it top of mind for me.
Okay, man. Well, that works. I know Daryl's in for it as well. So I'll reiterate that with Daryl, when he jumps on the call. And I'll drop him a line and just jump on a solo call with him quickly as well. But I just wanted to make sure, because like I said, Dan had disappeared randomly. Genuinely don't know where he's gone. I really hope he's all right, because it's really unlike him. And then Sarah got the bigger training program, but I didn't want you guys to feel like it was, okay, we've got to carry this on. But I know at the same time we are getting good stuff done. So that's all right. So you guys just keep me posted, keep chatting to me, keep being honest with me. and we'll keep it moving. So, Felicia, we're going to dive into your deep dive in a while. You are the deep focus for the day. So, Matt, I'm going to come to you. We'll sort of have 10 minutes or so just talking through where you're at, what's been going on, what have been the wins, what have been the challenges, where things are at. So, hitters, what have been the wins and the challenges, my man? What's been going down?
So a couple of good things. And again, I got to celebrate small wins these days when it comes to this project. But your guy, Daniel, did get the rebranding done for me. So that's good. So the site is up. It looks super slick. It's like a sports car with no engine because I'm not doing anything with it. However, at least I got the slick looking sports car. So I just got to work on putting the engine in it now. So that was good. I was excited about that. I think that, shifting that branding to be not another completely unique brand that I have to promote separate of all the other stuff that I do, I think was a good idea. So that's good. That's done. I've got ads out. I'm looking to hire a social media / digital marketing person to work in all my businesses. So they'll be able to help me push all these, the marketing pieces of these projects forward. Mm-hmm. So I've got a bunch of ads out. I've got a bunch of applications. I've got some really good people, good resumes for that. So that's helpful for me because, I've said from the get-go, if it's up to me to do it, it's going to take me years to launch. So that's a win. So, those are probably, for this project, those are the two big wins, is getting that redesign done and getting into some conversations with people who can help move these things forward. Oh, by the way, you hooked me up with the guy who was doing the live Zoom camp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, awesome guy. Awesome. Talked to him for like an hour. Gave me a lot of input, a lot of feedback. He's doing exactly what I intended to do with some of the kind of like, panels in a live format and then repurposing all the audio and data and video. So that was a really good resource. So that was good to talk to him. So that was a win too. Yeah. So I don't know if this is relevant to anybody, but I just started playing with Kartra.
What is that?
It's pretty awesome.
How are you spelling it?
So basically it's a marketing platform that allows you to build funnels, create your email lists, landing pages. It connects with Stripe for payment, and it's pretty Fisher Price simple. Yeah. Like I basically bought the 14-day free trial, gave it to one of my operations gals in the software company and said, hey, you got 14 days to play with this thing and tell me if it's cool. And it's pretty awesome. It's like ClickFunnels.
Okay.
But way simpler to use.
Oh, what's it called again? Sorry.
It's Kartra, Kartra. So they've already mocked up, they've already set up landing pages and connected the Stripe API. They've created some email chains. It's got great if this and that functionality that somebody joins a webinar but doesn't watch the whole thing, it'll kick off this campaign. So it does all that stuff, and it's seems to be really simple to use because they've been able to get in there and figure it out really, really fast.
I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nice play, man. Nice play. Kartra. I'm going to check that out.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is cool. I love stuff like that. Okay, so challenges. How are we feeling? Obviously, I know time's always a challenge for you, but
always, man.
Always the case. What's the what are the things outside of the kind of standard then? Is there anything that's cropped up? Any questions that you're thinking, oh shit, what do I do now? After it's maybe, especially after you'd spoken to Cam, like what's the next tech challenge? What's going on that side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I think the next two steps for me is one, getting somebody in to help with the social media and digital marketing, because I can spread that out over multiple companies. There's stuff I can have them do for the brokerage as well as the software company. Those are the two top priorities. Once we get flows with that, I can also leverage them into using digital marketing and social media to create investment leads for me. So I've kind of got 3 different projects that I can put them on.
Okay.
So that's going to be a big one, getting somebody on board to do that. My plan is I'd like to see that happen in the next 2-3 weeks tops.
Okay.
And I think the other thing is just signing up for the Zoom conference account, the the webinar version, and doing some test webinars with my own agents. So that's easy enough for me to do that I can reach out to a few people I know, put together a good group and run a test and see how that works. And I can, practice all the functionality of going live on Facebook, and I'll promote it to the people I know, and it'll give me a good test run to see how it works.
Cool, man. That makes perfect sense. So what's the kind of bit of accountability to get done then? So we picked Zoom. We're going to test some of the agents out. The last thing that I just want to check on that accountability side is the tripwire. So I know we spoke about that last time you were on the call, which was a couple of weeks ago. So how's that kind of feeling right now? How's that whole tripwire ideal going?
So, I mean, candidly, I didn't spend time on that.
Okay.
Just, I'm happy to have you tell me that I'm wrong, but I feel like it's a little bit cart before the horse for me, right? Like I got to get the foundational piece set up before I worry about. So for me, with the limited time I have right now, I need to get the site in place, get the tool that I'm going to use to do the interviews. So I haven't had a ton of time to focus on the tripwire.
Okay.
I do have, and correct me if I'm wrong, the tripwire is really the, that would be like what you're selling on the site. Is that right? Remind me.
The first thing that people can generally buy from you. So we've just been redoing ours, actually. This is actually a very pertinent example. It's the exact example. So the content, people coming through the content side of things. So they're coming through all these levels of content, all this free stuff down here. And it's basically, once they're on the email list, like, what is the first thing that they'll buy that just gets you used to transacting, that gets them used to saying, there's a little bit of money. And the reason that we're focusing on this to start with, and again, it might be a little cat before the horse, that's fine if that's how it fits for you, but one of the most common things that people tend to do is that they'll put a load of content out, they'll start to build a bit of an email list, get so bogged down with doing all that stuff and getting on the hamster wheel that when people are asking to give them money, they've got nothing to sell to them. So
I mean, I can tell you what those three things would be. One is definitely the software. That's a focus of a piece of why I'm doing this, is to be able to build the brand and promote the software. So the software platform is one of them. I did basically write a book, which is about profitability in the real estate industry. So I really just need to get that edited and like make a cover, and then that can become a PDF book that people can. My intent wasn't to sell it initially. Okay. Maybe it should be $9 or something ridiculous just to create that willingness to spend with me. My intent was just to use it to build the email list, and then promote people coming to webinars where I dive deeper into the content. So, I mean, those were the three things that I'm either selling or using to create engagement would be, those three things.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, you're in a slightly different position to most people because you have got the software and so on. So I don't think that's necessarily a problem then. I would just park that up. Don't worry too much about it. But just be mindful that there's going to need to be something priced at that level to get people in to the ecosystem. You are slightly different because of the SaaS platform anyway. So I'm not too worried about that one. So that makes sense. So cool, man. All right. Thank you very much. That's a good way to kind of get caught up on that. We'll come back towards the end on just on what we're going to get done, what the next bits of accountability are. So Felicia, I'm going to come to you. It's your deep focus session. Matt, we'll do yours. If you're on next week, we'll do your deep focus session next week. So let me know if you can't make it. We'll pull Daryl in, and then we'll do yours the week after. So just let me know on that one.
Okay.
So Felicia, wins and challenges to start with. I'm going to probably guess the first one.
The wins are, I was hired by a speaker's agent a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to meet with her. She already has clients. She just needs help with brainstorming. I just finished a speaking gig here in Quebec City that went very well. Got a new prospect speaking client. And a whole bunch of other money people to put them through my tripwire.
Okay.
I actually speak next Tuesday. So as soon as I get back home, I have a speaking engagement Tuesday. And I did a photo shoot for my website. So that was fun.
Is that the one that you put on the Zoom?
Yeah. Well, no, that was just me playing a couple of months ago, but I figured I needed to look like my photos because I cut all my hair off last year. So I needed to take new pictures. Um, So I did that. The speaking gig went very, very well. And then I got an email from Jarrett at Podcast Movement. And I guess I got asked to be an ambassador for Podcast Movement, whatever.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's something new to find the lost people at Podcast Movement. I don't know. But I get to come to the speakers party. I like free food, so why not?
Well, that's good because you get into the group as well. You know, that's the main thing with that.
Yeah.
Just make sure they don't work you too hard for free.
Yeah, I know. But I guess I get my photos and all the things on the speaker pages without speaking. So that works. I can go for it.
I'll swap you. I don't want to do a talk. It's too much work.
Cool. I'll come talk. We can talk about anything. As far as challenges at the moment, probably just the time thing of trying to manage all these bits and pieces that are kind of flying really quick right now. Also, I have a little conflict because I listened to one of the speakers at WITS about publications, and there were a couple of editors of magazines there and pitching for magazines and things like that. And I know that's something I've been wanting to do, but just haven't had the time. But I'm about to uproot my personal life a little bit so I can start being on the road a little bit more so I can get closer to home, to be near my parents. So kind of just trying to figure out like what the direction of the rest of this year is going to look like. So those are just challenges, nothing really big other than I need to do some work, but just a little conflict of where all the energy needs to go over the next few months. And then also trying to decide if I need to put speaking on hold for a little bit so that I can kind of finish some other things and then go back and attack it. So it's just kind of a time thing. As far as the accountability, the last thing I was working on was the tripwire. And I told you about this last week. I'm going to use Thinkific and everything. So had to put it on hold just so that I could work on all the speaking stuff. So I'm going to be out of pocket just so I can work on all the emails and getting all these people through that first level of sales funnel from the speaking, and then I can go back to it. So.
Yeah, to be honest, I've just checked that. Thinkific, I know you've chosen that one. I've got it down to be like June 30th for that whole move because you've got the speaking gigs and you've got that entire thing going on. So I'm just, with the accountability with yours, I'm just running that through because the value ladder looks solid. And it was basically 2 weeks, 3 weeks on Thinkific and then moving it further from there. So, okay, that works. One sec. Cool. All right. So where do we want to focus? What's the focus time? What do we want to do? Where you struggling? Where do you need the help?
I don't know. I think right now the only thing that's kind of up in the air for me is a little bit of the branding. And I know it's a little weird, but kind of like what my brand is and trying to figure that out and how I want to lead going forward. Because like I told you, my website is pretty much a hot mess at the moment. And I've been trying to figure out where my voice is going to land. So, and I've been going back and forth. So I kind of narrowed it down to, I like to travel, I like talking about speaking, and I like talking about money. And those are kind of the three things. And then my little play hobby thing is the photography. So, so I've been trying to figure out how to combine all those things into one and kind of like let it, kind of that's a me thing. And it seems to be working okay, but I guess I haven't figured out how to represent that well in a website or through social media and things like that. And this was the first time I had a chance to kind of incorporate all of it. So what happened at this talk, because it was a Women in Travel Summit, and the way I introduced myself, I just say I'm a budgetologist and I work with business owners managing both sides of the money. It was interesting at the end, everybody wanted to know about the speaking. So that's how I got the speaking client. So that worked out very well. So I think I'm just trying to play with how to incorporate both of these things, the money and the speaking. The travel is just my fun thing, into one. And then kind of the publication stuff. I really want to do that, but I haven't been practicing writing in a long time. But I think if I want to get more speaking gigs, I'm going to have to probably jump into that world a little bit more. So those are just kind of the little conflicts in my head right now with where to focus. That's all.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I'm just looking at the website.
It's a hot mess. Don't look at it.
Well,
no,
it's not too bad. I've seen a lot more hot messes. Okay, so how do you pitch yourself right now? And this is interesting as well for you, Matt, and for me actually, because we've all got these things that we do. Like with me, I've got the podcast website, SaaS business, the new products coming out on that side. I've got my own personal brand, which is just basically me teaching people how we're building the SaaS business. And then, like you said, Felicia, I've got these hobby things and the photography and all sorts of things. Matt, you've got the businesses, you've got the SaaS platform, you've got the side projects. We're all doing like 10 things. Felicia, I think you're at this point where you can bring them all together under one banner. But I guess the question is, it's like, what's the pitch, isn't it? It's like, where's that sit? What's the tone? You know?
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm getting stuck in. And this is kind of the first time, because of all these things that are about to come up over the next couple of months. This is the first time of really putting it out there, because I only had the idea about the speaking thing until I left London. And so this is, actually saying it out loud is different than in your brain. And I guess right now, I just call myself a budgetologist, and I just work with business owners on both sides of the money. And it seems to, people seem to get it pretty quickly when I talk either about speaking or I talk about money. And then of course, most people know I like to travel. So that's kind of an easy one to incorporate.
Okay. When we're selling, obviously we've got the Thinkific site, which is going to be the kind of budgetology side of things, the whole course and that whole side of things. What you're not doing on this Keep It With Mrs. Jones website in particular, you're not really selling the budgetology side of things. You're kind of just saying, I'm a budgetologist, but I kind of don't talk about it on this website. It's like it's there, but it's kind of not there.
Yeah.
The question that I've got is how, when you're creating content to market this course on Thinkific, do you see yourself putting that on the Thinkific site or on this site, or is that part of the problem? Have you already crushed that? What's the...
I actually think I'm just going to kind of blend it. I think I can mask Thinkific to kind of look like it's still my website a little bit.
Okay.
So what happened was, for so long, I have Budget School. I have the Budget School website. So it's budgetschool.co. All of the money stuff went under there, and it has, like, you don't see me a part of it, but then I had to realize that, people buy me and not necessarily the money stuff. So I've always been in conflict with whether or not, is it the Budget School thing or is it Keep Up With Mrs. Jones? So, and I just decided back in March that I was going to move everything back over to my main website. So, and that's why it looks the way it looks, because I got rid of all of the pages, because I haven't figured out, I made sure my speaking page is there, and there's a couple of blog posts, but I haven't really figured out like really how to blend it all. So I was actually going to bring all of the money stuff, and just the Budget School will just kind of go back to a course. It's just a thing that I have. And then, so that way I only have to manage the one brand. I guess kind of being okay with realizing that I guess I am the brand.
Yeah.
I didn't want it. I didn't want it that way, but I guess it's being that way. But
that's your personality coming out, though. That.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. Matt, you just put something interesting in the chat there, so let's talk about that for a second. Where did that kind of pop up from? What brought that whole soulfulpreneur style wording in? Where did that fit in your mind? Quite like that.
So I don't know if I'm interpreting it right, but right. So like, I'm like anybody, any consumer who might come across your brand, trying to identify specifically what it is that you do and you focus on and help people with. When I read the blurb that's there on your website, it sounds like what you're really doing is providing resources that help people live a fulfilling life, both financially and from not only financials, but also a lifestyle, like you were talking about traveling and, independent lifestyle, location independent lifestyle. So, it's kind of that unicorn that everybody's searching for these days, right? Entrepreneurs want to be able to run businesses that give them this freedom to explore the world. And so I don't know, to me, as I read through that, just trying to figure out like, okay, how do you bring that whole brand together? And I may be way off base. I don't know if that's actually what you do. But it sounds to me like it's like business life coaching or business life training or business life resources. How do I not only build a business, manage my finances, but do it all in a way that I have a balanced and fulfilling life? That's kind of what I hear when I listen to you and look at, the blurb that you have on there. And that just sounds like a cool way to say it to me, a soulfulpreneur.
Okay.
Just made up.
Yeah.
So feel free to throw that out. It's not even a real word, but just to me, it sounded like a cool way to say like, a fun, trendy, business person, right?
Yeah.
Not all business, not all fun, just kind of brings those two concepts together.
Yeah. I like it, but yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's kind of, that's what I would like to get across is like how you manage your money, how do you run this business, but also still have some fun at the same time without getting too stressed out.
So where does the budgetology fit into that? Because that feels like just one part that you've got to fix. And when I'm saying that, what I mean is it feels like one part that you've got to fix as a client of yours or as someone consuming your content. Like that's one part of their life they've got to fix.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the main thing, or do you intend on adding more things, more?
For the longest, that was the main thing. It was all about money, managing your money properly. But over the last few months, because so many people have started asking me about the speaking, that has been the thing that people seem to want to know about. And my take has been, I'm still a budgetologist, and I basically say I come from this as from a CFO point of view. I can't help you manage your money if you're not making any money. So in order to make money, here's something that I've learned how to do, and that's speaking. So go make some money, then come back and we can talk. Then we can talk about managing your budget. So I kind of go from that point of view. Not a speaking coach, not a PR person, but it's like, seriously, I can't do anything unless you make some money.
That's quite interesting. And okay. So the people that you're working with, I'm trying to tie this whole lifestyle thing in together. What kind of people are they generally when it comes to like, are they making money, but they're not making enough money for you to affect them? Like, what's the deal? Like, where are they at financially?
I would say probably 80% of the people that I guess are attracted to me are the people who aren't making enough money. So, and I get about 20% of the people, like they're making the $300,000, $400,000. They just need to figure out how to manage their budget. But the majority of people, because I go to, like even places like FinCon and WITS, I get a lot of people that come to me like, like a young lady, she has $200,000 in debt. And so her thing is like, well, I just need help with my budget. And the reality is she needs to go make money.
Right.
Because it's not a budget thing. So that's when I literally flip it over to like, all right, we can't manage this. There's no budget because there's no money coming in. So here's some things I need you to do to go make some money because we're in survival mode. So it kind of depends when somebody talks to me. I usually have to decide if they have an income issue or a spending issue. And 9 times out of 10, most people have an income issue. So then I just switch over to, all right, here's what we need to do to kind of get you out there, especially if they're speakers. A lot of people think they want to be speakers. So my thing is like, all right, if you think you want to speak, I need you to go do all these things so that you can book some gigs. And then it kind of does go slightly into the business coaching thing because then I need you to sell something. Then I need you to make some money. Yeah, so it goes back and forth. But I do get some folks that want just a straight up money part of the session. But because of the conferences I go to, the largest bit will be people who have income issues. So that's why I always say, just as a budgetologist, I talk about the two sides of a budget, managing the budget and also feeding it. So And I just have to figure out what your problem is.
Okay. So with that in mind then, like what story do you tell through your brand? And how do you actually, I'm going to ask that question again with a slightly different preface to it. What's your story and how do you tell that through the brand and how does it relate to what they're going through? Like what's the narrative that we're trying to thread?
I don't know. No, it seems as though right now, what I do through social media, website, and the live streaming, people seem to be attracted to the fact that they can travel and speak. That seems to be the biggest thing. A lot of people want to travel more, and they want to get out there more. So either is the business is getting in their way. It's almost kind of like what you're saying, like the lifestyle prison. Either the business isn't making enough money for them to travel, or they originally started the business to travel, but they got caught up in the business side of everything. So everything's, it slows you down. But it seems as though a lot of people are very interested in being able to travel and speak. That seems to be what the brand story is, because that's kind of how a lot of people are coming to me right at this moment.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Go on, Matt. Looks like you were going to say something then, my man.
I'm just curious. How did you, I think you sort of answered this already. Did you set out to be in the speaking space? You set out to be in the budgetologist space, right? And it morphed into speaking?
The original plan was, I hated my job and I just like to travel. That's all I wanted to do. And I realized I needed to figure out the money stuff so I could travel. And when I worked with a business coach a couple of years ago, they told me that that's not a good idea and nobody would ever pay you to talk about travel. Ha ha ha. There's a whole conference about it now. So this was just me like, all right, going. And then I went straight into the money piece of it. I like the money piece, but it's not where it gets me excited. But it has, I guess if you've known me for at least 10 years, probably talking about travel is the only thing I kind of talk about a lot. So no, as far as the speaking, I did not get into this to be a speaker. It was just one of the easiest ways. It was the way to market the business that I knew how to do without being stressed out. Like social media, I don't understand it and I can't do it, but the speaking stuff just came easy. So I went that route while everybody else went a different route. So, and that's how the speaking came.
So when you started speaking, that led to people coming to you to ask you how they could start a career in speaking. Is that what evolved?
Yeah. So over last year is when people really started asking me about the speaking. Because I guess because I publicize, where I speak and everything like that. So last year was like the first time people really started asking me, like, well, how are you doing this? How are you finding all of these things? And it really started kicking in last summer, because I thought in my brain it's kind of easy, but it seems as though it's not very easy to people to go find speaking gigs. And I don't know. So yeah, so that's where people just kept asking me. So I did a class and now they're really asking, because the more that I travel now, that even more people are starting to ask me how I'm getting all these speaking gigs. So it's like the more places I go on a map, even more people start asking me questions.
Because it seems like, and again, you can tell me to shut up anytime you want, because I may be way off base, but it seems like the bigger picture story of your evolution isn't specifically speaking, and you may attract a lot of people because you're a speaker, but the bigger picture experience you went through that you can help people with is very simply getting from, that, job prison that they're existing in, or the financial prison they've built for themselves, to something that gives them freedom, inspires them, and provides them with the financial means to live their life. It's like, it doesn't need to be specific. For you, it happened to be speaking is the road, and you may attract a lot of people who want to follow that road. Mm-hmm. You can really help people regardless of what their niche is. figure out, okay, here's where I'm at. What's important to me? How do I build a business and a lifestyle around that thing that's important to me that I enjoy, and make sure that it actually funds my life?
Yeah.
Like that bigger picture of it all.
Yeah,
Because
there's a bigger picture.
if you can do it as a speaker, that just happens to be the venue you got into.
Yeah.
If somebody else came to you who said, hey, I want to be an author, or I want to be this, or I want to be that, you'd probably be just as equipped to coach them through that process of figuring out how to do that, how to execute that, how to, manage financials around it.
I think that's what I was going to just sort of jump in, Felicia. That's where my mind's going, is that actually the budgetology, it's very similar to this lifestyle prison idea, but it's more around actually you got to earn the money first.
Yeah.
So solve the problem, fix the income, spending or earn more. But what's the outcome that they want? Do they want to specifically travel more and speak, or do they just want to be able to do what they want to do? That, I think, from your side, Felicia, that's the decision you need to make in terms of back to the original question, which was how do I pitch this on my website, and how do I actually bring this personal brand out? You got to decide. Do you help people who want to travel and speak? And that's not a small market. That's basically every person in business who's of a certain age that gets to a point where they feel like they can do a little bit more. Like it's a logical step for many people. Like Matt, I'm sure that given the opportunity and a bit of time, you'd take some speaking gigs wherever they came up, and
sure.
If they happen to be in awesome places, brilliant. So it's quite interesting, that, Felicia. I think there's that whole, do I just help people earn enough money or fix their finances so that they can then travel the world speaking? Do you purely teach people your thing? Or as Matt said, are you a little broader? Like, what is that decision to make? Because at the minute you're selling budgetology and you're selling how to get speaking gigs. What we've not talked about, and what I don't even know if you've addressed, is what's the outcome of doing that? Like, what's the point?
That's true. That's true.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like because the speaking gigs, otherwise you'll get spent on the speaking gigs. You'll just be thinking, all I'm now doing, I've swapped this thing for this thing. Now I've got to keep getting speaking gigs to get paid. Like, what's the outcome of keep getting all these speaking gigs?
Well, it is, like I said, it's been very interesting. I don't know. I've created a little pickle for myself. It's a very interesting little pickle, but it seems as though a lot of people do want to travel, whatever kind of way. The more I'm in this business thing, more people seem to want to do the speaking. And just to be straight up honest, the speaking, researching and finding the speaking gigs comes very easy to me. Like, I could do it in my sleep type thing, and it's actually kind of fun to do. So it doesn't stress me out as much. The money coaching, don't like it as much. It's too much to drag people along, because it can get hard. It can get very hard for a while. So I actually don't mind. And I like talking about money because I also know that's my little secret sauce. That's how I get booked for speaking gigs. Because I know if I switch it up too much, then I probably won't. I'm scared I'm going to start sounding like everybody else, how to make all this money in 6 months without doing anything. But I just know that the money stuff has really been the thing that gets me booked a lot, because it's such a different topic for some people.
That's curious as well, then.
It is very curious. And I've also realized not as many people will pay me for money coaching, but they will book me for speaking. So that's why I wanted to switch that up to more of a training thing. If people want me to come in and train, but people will pay me for speaking gigs.
So you have a conundrum similar to me with the SaaS product. So our SaaS product manages agents' financials for them, right? And automates that process. What we learned really quickly is it's a huge, huge problem in the real estate industry. They make a boatload of money. They spend it all. They have no idea where it goes. Literally 95% of real estate agents have no profit and loss, no budget.
Oh, I know. I have some clients that are.
Yeah, they earn it, they spend it, and then they pray to God until April 15th. That's how they roll.
But they look good. That's all that matters.
But they look good. They drive nice cars. They look good. Yep. Looks amazing from the outside. and the pain that exists in their life because of this, and the stress is tremendous. Yet what's super interesting is it is so incredibly challenging to get anyone to take action on that, right? Like, it's not sexy. It's sexy to talk about building a lifestyle, a business that allows you freedom and enough money to live and like make your own choices, do what you want, when you want, where you want, with who you want. All of that stuff is super sexy and gets people fired up. When you start talking about budgeting, right? Everybody sinks in their seat and they're hearing it and they know it's true, but oftentimes it doesn't get them to take any action. Like, we've had to figure out how to hit an emotional nerve with people to get them to actually do anything, because, you know, the topic of the budget is so not sexy, and they know it's going to be painful to solve the problem because it's a real problem, and solving any problem is painful. So for us, we've had to, like, when I go out and teach and train, I make the connection between building the foundation correctly to the opportunities that it creates later. Right. So people want to learn about investing in real estate, and I'll say to them, you have to earn the right to be able to do that. And the way you earn the right is by acting like a business person, which means you have a budget, which means you have a personal budget, a business budget, you have a profit and loss. Like, you got to do the right stuff, you know, spend less than you make and be able to invest the difference. But when you tie it to the inspiration piece, now you can get people to do something, which again, like, when I look at this, to me, you know, if you can go out and be booked for the budget, the money conversation, but then can tie it to the inspirational piece of, you know, the freedom it's given you, the life you've been able to live, you know, and how you can help work both sides of that for somebody to give them the, hey, here's the sticks and stones, nuts and bolts. It might be a little painful that you got to deal with. And oh, by the way, you know, that's step one of being able to walk down this path to having a different life.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I've had to find a thing that people wanted. It's kind of what, give them what they want, sell them what they want, give them what they need. And it seems as though everybody I know wants to be a speaker. Now, when I do talk about money inside of it, and that's when a lot of people either, you know, stop, or they don't have the time and all that kind of stuff. And then it's like, well, you're not a good person for me to work with then. But I have found that the speaking, and I don't know, Mark, I don't know if your world is the same as mine, but it seems like everybody I know wants to be a speaker, or they think they want to be a speaker, or some type of influencer person. So that's kind of been my little, so far, that's been my little in with folks.
Well, it's a funny one, that, because people say the same to me, and last year was the first year that people really said the same to me as they are to you, which is like, how are you everywhere? Because last year I was like heavy on that shit, and this year a lot, but less, maybe slightly less. And my play is just, I'm speaking at the conferences where we want to acquire customers or influence for this podcast website stuff. And my Excellence Expected stuff, interestingly, is my way of traveling, and it's my little pot to go and do whatever the hell I want. It's kind of just what I do to go and travel. So I get it. I'm totally with you on that one. And what Matt just said, I think, is really interesting. I like the idea. Actually, the budgetology is actually just another tripwire. Whether they book you as a workshop, or they book you as a speaker, or they buy your course, actually, it's what opportunities does the budgetology give to people. I think the challenge that you've got is actually defining what those opportunities are and how you package up the ability to be able to sell, getting people to that. And a question for you: do you want to make your money from speaking, or do you want to make it from something else?
I've been thinking that I wanted to make my money through speaking or training, because that's where I would like to try to go down that route before the end of this year, or figure out how to get into that world. But I'm actually okay with making some money providing the service for speakers and finding speaking gigs, because it comes really easy for me.
Okay.
And it seems as though ever since I decided to do that, I've had more people that have been interested in the speaking stuff than the 4 years of doing this budgetology thing.
Well, that tells you something. And I think that's what you said, Matt. That's sexier.
Yeah. I mean, when I started doing the real estate financials classes, I used to trick people. So the title of the class was Real Estate Wealth Building. And they'd get there and I would say, okay, tell me what you want to take away from the day today. And they'd want to learn how to flip houses and how to buy rentals and all this stuff. And I'd say, awesome. Here's the good news and the bad news. Bad news is I'm not going to talk about any of that. The good news is I'm going to teach you all the foundational stuff you actually need to know in order to earn the right to be able to do all that stuff. And once you do that, I'll come back and then I'll give you the content that you guys showed up for today. But I had to trick them to get there because 70 people would show up if they thought I was teaching the sexy stuff. If I said, I'm going to teach you how to do a budget and a P&L, right? It'd be crickets in the room.
Yeah.
So,
you know, and that's the weird thing. I can get booked for that talk, which is fine for conferences. And I used to do workshops. The workshops actually don't, if I have another business coach that sells me, I can get people in the room with no issues with the budgetology stuff. But the speaking does get people in the room really, really fast. And then I also, even through that, I do open up a lot of holes, you know, because I always ask, well, what are you selling, you know, when you're speaking? And that's when that's where I come in with the money stuff. And then that's where it's like, well, maybe I need to work on my money. Like, yeah, you probably should, you know? So I don't know. I found some little tricky ways to get in, but it is kind of it's an interesting little pickle. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this isn't a problem. Maybe I'll just go with it for a while and see what happens. I don't know.
Well, I think draw it back to what you originally asked, which was how do I pitch this on my personal brand site? Maybe, you know, we've got to come at this from an angle, because when people go to budgetologist and they're looking at budgetschool.co, they're looking at that and they're thinking, okay, I get this, it's a course. They come to keep it with Mrs. Jones.com. It's like, well, what does Felicia actually do? We need to just maybe just put some thought into that narrative. Like, I travel the world speaking and teaching how getting your finances in order can allow you to do the same. You know, just think, do you want to be the person that teaches people to have that lifestyle? That's the decision you got to make.
That would be really fun. Honestly, if travel the world speaking, talking about money, that would be like the perfect lifestyle.
Well, do it. I would lean into that, because look, ultimately, it doesn't change anything that you're actually doing, but it means that you can market what you're doing, which is what you're a little bit like, okay, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to market this thing because of this question. So maybe lean into that. And I'm going to put down for one of your accountability pieces is come up with a new tagline and narrative for it. Just come up with, I am the globe-trotting speaker who does X. Come up with a new tagline, because that becomes the filter, you know. You can blog about it then, and suddenly your travel photography is not incongruous anymore. It goes on your website. You know, it's actually supporting testimony to the fact that I do this. I'm not lying. I do this. You know,
it's so funny that you say that. That's been the comments I've been getting the last few months, and people were like, you actually do what you say you do, you know, because there are a lot of people who say they do things but don't do it for real. And that's a lot of people have been coming to me. They were like, you actually say you speak around the world. I was like, yeah, I kind of do. So those people have been like coming to me, and I guess they appreciate that. I guess there are a lot of people who lie nowadays. Imagine that.
A lot of people will really bleed out of one speaking gig, this whole I'm a global speaker, you know, just using that as the example. And there are some people that do it and some people that don't. Like someone like Fanzo, he does do it. He's all over the place. Like you do it, I do it, probably not as much as you guys do, but you've got to, like I use my Instagram for that reason. Like my Instagram's a mix of business and personal stuff for that very reason, because all the stuff that I tell people, like if you just go to my Instagram feed, it just proves it. You know what I mean? That is it. And I think you could do better than I can on that, because you can pull it into your website and you can actually, what I thought of being in Montreal, what I thought of being in London, and just throw in, I did 2 speaking gigs. I did marketed live. Oh, and by the way, here are some pictures. Here's what I thought of the actual location that I was in. You know, all of these different things, but bring it together so it becomes social proof as much as anything else.
Yeah, I like that. And plus the other thing is a lot of the people from FinCon are the ones who are asking me about it. So that's the interesting part too.
Oh, really? That's cool. Okay. Yeah. I think FinCon's your play this year. I think it's
those are my people.
Yeah, I agree. It's perfect. It is.
Yeah, because I do get a lot of people who ask me, how do I talk about money and not make it so boring?
And you are the expert on that.
Yeah, that could be fun.
I would lean into that, definitely. And a quick one from Matt. We'll wrap up in a second. Go to some quick accountability. But so Matt, I think that's a really good point. Do you help people identify what their perfect life looks like and create a business that funds that perfect life? That feels like it is a bit of the overarching piece, you know?
Yeah, it feels like it. And I think I started off that way, but I think I do want to be a little bit more specific with people who kind of already think they know.
Okay.
And just niche down instead of trying to mold somebody, which is a little harder for me because I will admit I do get a little impatient after a while.
That's good. I get that. Yeah. It shows that you give a shit about it, so that's not a bad thing. So cool. Let's switch to a little bit of accountability then. We're going to wrap it up in 6-7 minutes, so I don't get stuck here till 6 a.m. because that'd be a pain in the ass.
You can call your mom.
I'm not going to call my mom. She'll be pissed. She's got my auntie Wendy, who I'll introduce you to. She's got my uncle, and she's got my auntie staying with her, and then like my sister Izzy, who works like there. Her and her kid live 200 yards away. Then she's got my brother and his 2 kids that live across the road, and they all congregate in my mum's house. So if I call her today, I'll get the Chernobyl shit because it'll be like the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Honestly. Anyway,
don't call your mom.
I'm not going to call my mom. So, on the accountability, Felicia, and tell me if I've missed anything, it's just keep the move open with Thinkific. We'd allocated a couple of weeks for that one. I know you're traveling and you've got the speaking gig when you get back, but obviously we've got a bit of momentum to keep there. And I think a big one is really just get this new tagline. I want to be able to see on your site, keep up with Mrs. Jones, welcome to the personal site of Felicia Jones. Tagline, I am the global speaker that travels the world and teaches people how to do that, whatever.
Okay.
That's the only thing to focus on.
Okay.
Matt, for you, my man, obviously it's the assistant, which I know you're on with anyway. Just try and get that Zoom tested if you can. I'm really curious about that. I want to try and get some formatting together for you and just start to work with, all right, how are we going to put these things together? What does the tech look like? Because I want to look at like what other resources you might need. Because I know Cam, when he does it, he's got like he does a shit ton of editing, and I just want to make sure.
He actually scared the shit out of me a little bit.
It scares the shit out of me when I talk to him.
He mentioned this is all he does, and he's putting in 65 hours a week, 70 hours a week. Man, and I'm like, dude, I got negative 60 hours a week as it is. Like, but he does it all himself. He's doing all his own editing and all that stuff. Yeah,
I am and I'm talking after 14 months of working with him. I learned to bits, and he's amazing at what he does, and he's so successful with it. But only this month has he finally said, I better get a VA. I'm like, dude, that's like, I said that we should do it on day one. So yeah, just be wary of it. Having said that, I think you and me can work on a bit of a structure on minimizing the editing. I'm always a fan of actually, if you do a little bit of prep work and you've got the team and the assistants to be able to do the prep work for you, of putting a structure in place where you minimize the editing, So I think that's worthwhile. Whereas Cam will let things roll and he'll then go back and create the narrative out of whatever content he captures.
Yeah. I won't do that.
I will also not do that. That just seems like way too much work. Cool, man. And I don't think there's much else to do on that one. So Matt, next week is your deep focus session. So have a little think about what you want to do on that one, where you want to focus, where you want to get the best impact from it. Okay. I'm going to speak to Daryl and just bring him up to date. Like I said, as long as you guys are happy to keep the group going, I'm pleased to keep doing it. I think it works. I think we've got a good bunch. I'm not going to put any effort into bringing anyone else in. I don't really feel that we need to. But if you guys feel we need to, or if you think actually, okay, I wouldn't mind another perspective on things, I'll actively go out and find the right fit for that as well. So if you do find actually we want some more opinions, just let me know. Just keep throwing feedback at me, and I'll keep it working for you. But Daryl's literally entered as we're exiting. Hey Daryl, how you doing, man? Daryl,
are you all by yourself?
No,
there they are.
We're all here, but we are actually wrapping in like 1 minute.
Sorry.
Don't worry, man. These things come up. But I'll drop you a line in Slack. I've already sent you one. Let's you and me have a quick 15-minute chat maybe tomorrow.
Right.
And we'll just have a bit of accountability and just make sure you've got everything.
Okay.
Cool. Well, sorry it's a bit earlier than normal this week. Like I said, this train strike's really kicked me in the teeth, but next week we should be back to normal. Matt, your deep focus session, so let me know if you're going to be around. And if not, I'll shift down to Daryl and then we can come back to you the week after, man. So it's all good.
Sounds good.
Cool. Awesome stuff. Right, guys. Daryl, I'll stay on with you for 2 minutes just to bring you up to date, and then we'll wrap it. But thank you, Matt. Thank you, Felicia. Always a pleasure.
See you guys
Thanks.
later.
Thanks.